You just clicked on this video and you're probably thinking that fixing Game of Thrones Season 8 is an impossible task. But hey, I'll try my damn best after making fun of it for over a year. An easy solution would be to just say do more seasons, forehead, but that would be too easy and it would make for a boring video. So instead, I'll try to fix and come up with better alternatives for the biggest mistakes that occurred in Season 8. I obviously won't be able to fix everything in this video, so if you guys like it, I'll definitely make a part 2. So the first question is, what are the main problems with the season that piss people off the most? To me, the most infuriating issues are how they handled the Night King and the Long Night, the execution of the Mad Queen storyline, and the show's ending. So first, let's look at the Night King. One of the glaring issues with the execution of the Night King is that he was killed by Arya Stark. The reason why it's an issue is that she has never interacted with the Night King or White Walkers before. This is like having Jon Snow kill Cersei. It would feel weird because he's never really had a personal interaction with her, nor does he have any personal dynamic with her. You can't have a character in a long-lasting series that has never seen or interacted with a character before suddenly making it their own personal goal to kill them. Like sure, some characters that Arya likes are being threatened by the Night King, but since she does not have any ties with him, it wouldn't have that much payoff for Arya to kill him. So instead, it would make sense for her to just help out in the fight to protect the ones she loves. Arya is a part of an entirely different subplot that has its own antagonists. These are the antagonists that were set up for this particular character. So just yeeting her into Jon Snow's subplot and having her take on the antagonists that she has never seen is just bad writing. So the question is, how do you fix the handling of the Night King and the Long Night? To me, there are only two ways you can have a satisfying outcome. Either you go the epic way of having Jon Snow take on the Night King and the heroes win, or you have a twist in which the heroes lose Winterfell in a hard home style episode and they have to overcome the Night King in a way that the audience cannot predict. I like the second option more. I think it would have been a good fit to end episode 2 with the invasion of Winterfell that lasts like 20 to 30 minutes. Episode 2 is pretty good, but not much really happens because it's just characters talking the whole time. It would have been a good change of pace for that episode to end in action because of how slow it was. If you have only 6 episodes, something needs to happen story-wise in those episodes or you'll have to cram in the remaining ones, which is what they did. So going back to the Long Night battle, after the Dothraki fall in a mere 30 seconds, Daenerys would probably give the order to evacuate since they are in a losing situation at that point. Also, to create an even bigger sense of hopelessness, you can sprinkle in the death of some of the best fighters like Grey Worm and Tormund. You can also have them die to a wave of White Walkers that fight them on the battlefield. An addition I would definitely make would be to add a fucking moon that lights the battlefield because you can't see shit. It's honestly just baffling how unpleasant it is to watch because of how dark it is. I would also add more Red Priests helping out during the fight since the Lord of Light supports the living. It doesn't make sense for him to just send one Red Priestess. You can have a lot of them die, and have Melisandre fall in battle instead of having her turn into the embodiment of Season 8. So those would be some of the additions that I think would make the actual Battle of Winterfell much more enjoyable. Turn it into a hard-home style episode, and include the quality of life improvements. The reason why you don't want the heroes to win in this episode is because of how anticlimactic it would feel. The Night King and the White Walkers have been set up since the beginning of the show, and ending that whole build-up in one episode does not feel right. The Long Night just ends up being a couple hours, and this massive threat ends up having no impact on the overall story. So to make it have an impact on the overall story, you need to have the Night King threaten everyone on the board instead of just the North. Because currently, you can just remove the White Walkers from Season 8 and nothing would really change.
I'm going to go now.
They were just used to make Daenerys' army weaker.
How far gone?
So my initial pitch after the heroes evacuate from Winterfell and it gets destroyed would be to stop the Night King at all costs before he gets to King's Landing. The stakes would be much higher because we know that Westeros in its entirety would fall because of the millions of people that live in King's Landing and that would fuel the Night King's army.
How many people live here?
A million, give or take.
That's more people than the entire North, crammed into that.
Either everyone will be forced to work together, or we would finally see the Night King take a seat on the Iron Throne. Just any form of higher stakes or greater impact from the Long Night would be better than what we got. Given Cersei's past history, she would probably be stubborn and would pay the price. We would also get the benefit of giving Cersei more things to do. All she did was stare at windows, and if we throw the obstacle of the Night King at her, then her storyline could be more interesting. So that would be my solve to the Long Night and Night King issue. Another big issue would be the handling of the Mad Queen. In this video, I will keep the Mad Queen arc, but I'll try to fix the execution of it. When Daenerys snapped, it didn't seem very motivated. All she did was just stare at the Red Keep, and then she suddenly lost her mind. What would make more sense would be to have an event that would make her lose it. I would say the easiest event would be, instead of killing Rhaegal in episode 4, have him die in episode 5. This would fix two problems. On one hand, you have one of the most stupid deaths in the history of the show. This death was literally just played for shock value, and it doesn't make sense because...
While Dany kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet and Euron's forces, they certainly haven't forgotten about her.
On top of the stupid death, we don't have any time to mourn the death of Rhaegal. The death of Viserion was so much better because it had active setup, and we saw the reaction of characters that loved him. The difference with this scene is that we had no setup and a minuscule reaction from Daenerys. So you can just have this battle to retake Dragonstone, and in the process Daenerys' fleet takes a big hit and they lose Missandei. That's fine. They don't need to kill Rhaegal in this scene, and it would make more sense for Rhaegal to get taken down by the dozens of scorpions in King's Landing. It could be as simple as, instead of Daenerys looking at the Red Keep and losing her mind, she is looking at Rhaegal's dead corpse. It could be the final scorpion shot that gets the last shot off and pierces Rhaegal's neck, and Daenerys has to watch her child slowly bleed out. She is the closest to her dragons because they are her children. Losing one and letting that moment marinate would be very emotional, instead of this hollow reaction of Daenerys losing her shit for no reason. With this new motivation, it would make more sense for Daenerys to destroy King's Landing from her new enragement. Another option for the destruction of King's Landing would either be Cersei detonating most of the wildfire, or in my last pitch, the Night King would end up getting down south, and there'll be a battle for King's Landing. Really, any option would be better than what David and Dan ended up going with. So looking at the last issue, I said in the beginning of the video, is that the ending is pretty abysmal. One of the most important lines of the show that teased the ending was how Daenerys wants to break the wheel.
Lannister, Targaryen, Baratheon, Stark, Tyrell. They're all just spokes on a wheel. This one's on top, then that one's on top, and on it spins, crushing those on the ground.
Which the wheel represented the constant rotation of power and how many people will get crushed by it. The problem with the ending is that Daenerys goes against this and literally just becomes a tyrant, and adds to the problem of the wheel. She goes against her very goal, and it feels like they compromise this in the pursuit of making her the Mad Queen. It's also ironic that Drogon knew what breaking the wheel meant more than what Daenerys did. The Iron Throne is the embodiment of the wheel. This constant pursuit of power causes most of the conflict in the show. Just because you get rid of the Iron Throne, that doesn't mean you fix the problem. They still elect a leader to rule over Westeros, and this will always create a future conflict for people wanting to be in that position. Yes, they are elected from a committee, but you can still manipulate the people voting and threaten and do many horrible things to get votes. To me, the main solution would have been independence for each of the 7 kingdoms. The North wanted their independence, and so did the Iron Islands, but they just kind of forgot about that. So in a better alternative scene, we can have the North claim independence, followed by the Iron Islands, and then this would cause a chain reaction of the rest of the kingdoms wanting their independence. It would still be an epic moment of having each leader stand up one by one claiming their independence. This would remove what the Iron Throne stood for. There would no longer be a source of conflict for a position with more power, since every kingdom would be equal. This would break the wheel instead of making Bran the new king. Choosing a king off of a good story is a trash way in determining the future of Westeros. And on top of that, they choose the most boring character who wasn't even in Season 5 and sat around and did nothing. But yeah, actually breaking the wheel at the end of the show, having a more satisfying conclusion for the Long Night, and fixing the execution of the Mad Queen would have made Season 8 so much better. There are obviously still a lot more issues that I can go into, and if this video does well, then I would be glad to make more. Thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day.